thing is well, one of the main things was to really make sure that you do your homework, I guess. When you're selecting your au pair, I mean, it's a little overwhelming. I mean, there's a lot of people to choose from, and I know for us personally, we want to make, this is someone that you're going to bring into your house for an extended period of time, and so it's not something you want to take lightly, as I would imagine most people would. And so it's, it can be a little daunting a little bit because you really don't know. And being the first time around for us, it was even more hard because, we just really didn't know the extent of the parameters of the program so much. We were learning as we were going. And so this experience was sort of like brand new to us. Obviously now that we've had an au pair for a year and a half, it makes getting the next one a lot easier. And we have a lot more experience to draw from in terms of how we frame our questions and stuff like that. But for the first timer, it's definitely difficult, I think. But I think if you really do your homework and do the research and really get into the information that's on the profile, I don't know, how some people may just gloss over it, but I really think it's worth reading all the all the feedback and all the reviews, and also, particulars, that the preferences and stuff like that the au pair might have. Like, you might have some situation where, someone didn't realize that they have a pet allergy or an aversion to a specific type of pet, and that may not come up in the conversation. Who knows? And next thing you know, you have kind of an issue going on there. So, the other thing is that I also think the Skype video interview is really important too, because, and I can't imagine anyone wouldn't do that. But I mean, I think it's important to really not just do it for 3 or 4 minutes. I mean, but really have, I think we had at least a half hour or 40-minute conversation with the people we interviewed. And there were some that, honestly, that were on paper really good. And, they seemed like even their videos sounded pretty good. Their English, that is. But there was a couple that when we interviewed them, we had such a hard time, understanding what they were saying, and they weren't answering their questions. And we chalked some of that up to being nervous. I understand that. And then, you just have the connection of Skype. Not always the clearest.
Yeah.
I understand that too. But after a while, you start to get the sense it's not really, the connection, or, it's the person's sort of, or not their nervousness. It's really that they may have not the English level of proficiency that you might be looking for. For us particularly, we have a toddler and an infant. I mean, an infant and a toddler that are both learning how to speak. So for us, that was having a good command of the English language was really a high priority for us. And not to mention the fact that we didn't want any of our instructions to be misconstrued. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's one thing to have the kids not understand each other with the au pair, but it's also another thing that if you give them directions and they don't understand what you're telling them to do. So, there are situations where you may have an expectation of a higher level of English proficiency that you, unless you really do that video interview, you're not going to know that happens or not. So, really what it's all about is just, making sure what you have works for you. I mean, if you don't feel the chemistry there, then, there's other folks to choose from. So, I mean, it's an important decision. It's a big decision. And it's not something you should take lightly. So, yeah, you have to look at all ends of it. It's not just how they are with the kids, but it's also how they're going to be with you. To be upfront with your location and its accessibility to public transportation. I've heard personal stories from other au pairs that Jolyn has known, or people that we've run into, who sometimes they feel like they're marooned to an extent, being off in the suburbs somewhere. And, I don't know if, maybe the host families did tell them that that's what it was. But I mean, I don't know if maybe that may not come up in conversation, but I think it's an important thing to cover, because not everyone, I mean, when you say DC or New York City or something like that, well, you know, there are areas of even the bigger cities that are kind of in the middle of nowhere, you know, or you could be a suburb of DC. You know, we're not in DC. We're in Woodbridge, Virginia, which is 23 miles south of DC. So we were very upfront with anyone we spoke to and said, you know, because we understand that part of the program is for them to get out and do things and immerse themselves in things that are here to see and do. And if you're in a place where you can't get to a bus or a train easily, I'm not saying that's a non-starter, but I just think that you owe it to them to be upfront with them about, like, hey, you know, there are some limitations on getting to some of the tourist sites in our area because of the fact of where we live. Now, you know, for us personally, we've let Jillian use our car, not so much to go into DC, but to get to the mall or go shopping or go to the store. And if she does want to go to DC or something like that, we normally we try to help her out. We'll lend her my Metro card, or we'll drive her to the nearest subway station near our house, which is about, you know, maybe 15-minute drive or so. You know, obviously not every family situation is going to be the same, and I may not be able to do that, but I just think it's good to be upfront with your au pair about where you are logistically for them to be able to get around and to do something on their own. Uber and Lyft and stuff are great, but you know, not everybody has the money to do that all the time either. So,
yeah.
So I just think that's an important thing to mention in your interview too. So.
Yeah, I definitely think that's important, and I think it's something that a lot of au pairs don't think about ahead of time. And so,
yep.
Like, as a family, you know, thinking about the logistics of how things are going to work.
Yeah, it's sort of an afterthought, but I think that's a critical thing, because if then you feel like you are marooned, I mean, that's depressing. I mean, that's sort of kind of puts you in a bad spot, you know, I mean, mentally, you know, because then you feel like, oh, I can't get out of here. And in the next interviews that we do, I mean, we don't expect anyone to be, you know, 500 drivers, but I mean, at the same time, if all they've been exposed to is just rural backcountry roads, then that might not be really what we're looking for. I would say it's best to be clear, really clear in the very beginning, so that each other's expectations can be set properly. You can fall into that hole where you're just assuming everybody understands, and they assume you understand, and next thing you know, things aren't working out like 2 months down the road. And so it's better to know up front, like, be very clear and specific about directions and how you want things done, and as the au pair as well, to make sure that they, you know, if they aren't comfortable with something, that they tell the host families sooner, not 6 months down the road, you know, like where the counselor has to get involved, and they like, well, why didn't you say something in the beginning? You know, so I feel like a lot of these situations can be diffused if they're brought up immediately, because usually they're noticed right away.